Hello and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club, the place investors go to gain actionable advice, learn about current market trends, and hear war stories from other professional investors out there in the field today. Before we get started, I have two quick housekeeping items to cover. First, if you like the episode, we would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and share. It is the best way to support the show and keep it running. Second, if you are a new investor looking to get started in real estate or an experienced investor looking to take your investing to the next level, we created an ebook for you that will cover how to find deals that are actually deals, how to finance those deals with little to no money down, and how to exit those deals for maximum value. On top of that, I throw in an insane amount of free bonuses that you'll have access to once you buy the ebook. All we charge is our admin cost to keep the show running. So, if you're serious about real estate investing and want to create both active and passive income as an investor, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com and click on the button that says Get the ebook to grab yourself a copy today. So with that said, let's dive right in. Today we have a very special guest with us, ready to drop some investor knowledge on you. So buckle up, grab your pen and paper, and enjoy the ride. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. Today we have with us Martin Saenz. Martin is the managing partner of Bequest Funds and also the author of Note Investing Made Easier. He's here to talk about note investing, which is great because I don't know a lot about it, so he can school me on that. Martin, thanks for hopping on the show. It's a pleasure having you here.
Gabe, thanks for having me on. Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. So as always, we start with stories here on the Real Estate Investing Club. So why don't you take us back to the beginning? How'd you get started?
Goodness. So in 2001, I got my MBA and went out and got a corporate job, as any good graduate should do. Yes. And what I found is I found 2 years of strife, and I eventually got fired from that corporate job, which was a blessing in disguise. So my wife and I, from that point, we decided that we're not going to do that again, and I'm not cut out that way. And so we ventured into small business ownership. And the idea was to obtain financial freedom. And so we opened up a museum exhibit company. We sold to the federal government for a number of years. And what I found with small business ownership is that you almost achieve the opposite of freedom because you're working 100-hour work weeks. You're really just tied, to the company, especially if you're very small, right? You're first kind of building the systems and everything else. So what we ended up doing was selling the company in 2013 at the height of its performance. I had accumulated a healthy portfolio of commercial and residential properties in the DC area as a result that I still manage today. And so from that point, my focus changed. I started thinking about freedom of time, and that became more significant. And it was really kind of a change, paradigm shift in that, I was always thinking, well, let me make these financial goals. And I started thinking more in terms of number of individuals I can serve, how I can be of better service to the world that I live in as an investor. And through this service to others, I'd obtain a higher quality of life in exchange. So just kind of making that shift, I stumbled onto note investing from that point.
I love it. And we hear that story, time and time again, that people get started down the road of investing because they want to be financially free. And that makes complete sense. Real estate is a perfect way to do that. But they get going down there and then they find that success that they've been looking for. And all of a sudden their perspective changes and they're like, money is not the thing anymore. Now I want to have impact. I want to have, service, as you put it. So I love that you kind of want that trajectory. You started in small business and you have to, usually I don't go into what you did before real estate, but you were doing a museum exhibit company. That's unique. Why did you start there?
So this is interesting because when we started the company, it was a sign and exhibit company. We made a decision, and this was, I mean, this was a pretty, wise decision. I'm a humble guy, but this was a pretty rock solid decision we made. And this is good that the audience hears this, is that my wife and I, we said that we don't want to sell to a middleman or be a tier 2 player. We want to sell directly to the largest buyer in the world, which is the federal government. And so we went head to head with a lot of the big boys in the industry doing what we did, but we chipped away at the rock, and we ended up getting contracts at the Pentagon. We have museum displays all throughout the Pentagon, NIH, various other medical facilities. We've been to military bases across the country, and we have exhibits there as well. And so once we started to gain ground and build a footprint, then the bigger boys came to us and they wanted to work with us. So it was kind of a neat shift of things. But when someone's starting out, you should really just start out with big aspirations, and you should say, well, there's no reason why I can't be a big boy or big girl and play in that sandbox. And you should shoot for the moon. Otherwise, you could end up staying too small for too long. And you see that in real estate all the time, right? Sure. You're flipping a few houses a year and you're just in that roller coaster ride. Or you're getting burnt out with landlording and doing everything yourself because you're too cheap to go hire property managers and kind of, build a team around you. So you should always start with kind of the end in mind.
Yep. And Grant Cardone can become kind of gimmicky sometime, but I do like that he does that 10X thing, because you really do need to focus on 10Xing. Like, you have your goal, now 10X it, make it big. And that is something that you should be going for, because if you focus on the small, if you focus on doing one single family, that's what you're going to get. And your energy it's not going to be used appropriately, because it really doesn't take that much more energy to do a single family unit than it does to do a 130 unit apartment building. So I like that you did that. I can't get over this topic, but why museums specifically? Because I don't consider museums to be a very big market out there. Why museums?
So my wife and I, we assessed our strengths and weaknesses, and what we found is her strength was on the creative side. So she was very good as an artist. She, very graphic designer, that kind of thing. And for me, my strength was more on the business side, marketing, proposal writing. So we just kind of married the two. And we said, well, sell to the government. And we wanted to produce a tangible product that was important to us. So to have a product/service offering versus a straight service offering, which the profit margins are a lot weaker in the federal space, or just sell a product, which is really you're selling a commodity, and the margins are real weak there too. But if you have a customized offering where it's products with service, and then you just carve out a niche for yourself, you can really, really do well as a result.
Nice. I like it. So you built that small business in the museum space, and that kind of got you into real estate. After a while, you kind of realized that you wanted that more time freedom, and you wanted to have a little bit more service, which brought you into notes. So let's jump into the note space, because I don't know a ton about note investing, and I would love to learn from you. So what is it about notes that really brought you into the space?
Well, I'm gonna actually answer that, do it like a two-part. So I'm gonna bring closure to the topic you keep wanting to run out, or run from, and then I'm gonna go right into notes. All right. So as a result, in the first few years of our small business ownership with my wife, it's 2005 timeframe. We had purchased a house, and immediately the house just went underwater equity wise, and so we were making payroll the day of, and we were having all these financial hardships. So I fell behind on my mortgage, and I started contacting the bank. I'm trying to work out an arrangement, trying to send them I'm sending a monthly payment. They would send it right back to me because they wanted full reinstatement. And so they really treated me like garbage. It was a large lender. You'd get a different person every time you call in. And so, all my attempts to try to work with them, and then they would reject my modification applications and everything for just frivolous reasons. And so, but my wife and I kind of stuck to the business, and eventually we turned the corner and we ended up buying a building that we operated our company out of. And then we bought the space next to us. And then we bought various other commercial properties and residential properties. Cause it's almost like when that light switch is turned on and you're really humming and you're seeing the fruits of all of your efforts. So that was kind of a good turning point. And we've been doing very well since that point. But that whole experience with mortgages never really left me, I believe. And so in 2013, when I picked up the note investing torch and kind of made that my career, which was over 8 years ago, I always remember that experience from that lender. And what note investing is, I'll first say, is that it is, in my case, with my business model, it's buying distressed mortgages across the country and working with the homeowners to keep them in their homes with payments they can afford while making a profit for myself. So that's really the whole mission for our organization. And in doing so, we take a very humane approach and we treat the borrowers as customers, paying customers, that is. So we treat them not just with compassion, not just, being genuine and transparent with them, but we actually treat them like gold. Yep. Because after all, the stronger the relationship we build with the borrowers, the more likelihood we're going to receive on-time payments from the borrowers. So it's no different from landlording, right? You got to treat the tenants well, make them feel appreciated, respected. Your collectability percentages will be much higher as a result. It's just good business practice. So that's really the heart of what Note Investing Made Easier is all about. I've written 4 books on the note industry. I'm a student as well as, I speak at conferences on the topic of note investing. However, this past year, we took a turn, or we extended out our business model to create Bequest Funds, which is an income fund, which basically says that it's an SEC Reg D 506C fund. And so what it is we essentially receive monthly payments from the borrowers, because it's a performing mortgage fund, and we in turn pay our investors on a monthly basis. So it's an income fund. So in other words, we went from which we still have a very active distressed debt arm for our company. We went from just buying millions of dollars of this distressed mortgage debt and working out this debt with our asset managers to go and convert it to loan modifications and payoffs and reinstatements, to creating a legacy play whereby we have a place to park qualified, performing, seasoned mortgages into an income fund that's going to pay out over 20, 30 years. And so that way, ourselves as business owners, as well as our investors, can partake in the profits over the years.
I love it. And I like that you guys, you focus on both ends. You focus on the customer of the investor and also the customer of the people who have these notes, who are they're in their houses. They might have fallen behind 1 or 2 payments, and you guys are working with them. And I know, being when I first started out, I was in a house. I owned my own house, and I was just getting started in real estate, and I was struggling to make those payments, and it can be super, super stressful when you're dealing with a huge company that just does not care, and they're like, you're behind a month. We're going to start the foreclosure process soon. And you're just like, man, just give me a few months. I can do this. So I like that you guys your compassion spreads both directions. I'm just going back in your story here a little bit. You were doing your small business, and then you got into the commercial space, which is great. You guys bought the building that you were working from. I like that. It's kind of like house hacking, but on the commercial side.
Yeah.
And So how'd you first get into notes? Like what, you had these buildings, you were, you had residential, you had commercial properties, they were producing income. What brought you into the note space?
So when we sold our company in 2013, the person we sold our company to, we took back a business note. So a majority of business sales that occur in the U.S. come with some sort of seller financing. And business sellers have to do that because banks tend to be restricted in what they can do in terms of financing, especially a new business purchase. Yep. So we took back a note, and so I went out and I researched who I could sell a partial of that business note to. So you can sell a tail of a business note. And I stumbled upon an individual, his name's Marty Granoff, and he has since become my mentor over the course of time. And he's been doing this 30 years. And I got to know him and just understanding his business model. And it makes sense. He buys discounted cash flow. And so I kind of got interested in that world. And after doing some research and really just kind of self-studying, I learned how to purchase institutional debt that was distressed. And so I'd make those purchases and then I would connect with the homeowner and work out a payment plan to keep them in their home. And so it sounded, it was very difficult in the beginning because I was doing very poor due diligence. I was doing due diligence as if I was a real estate investor. And that's the biggest mistake that many note investors in the space do when they come into the space is they think like a real estate investor. And their whole mindset is on the property, is on the collateral. What's the roof look like? What are are the windows working? Is there black mold? Like all these questions. Yeah. How's the landscaping? And they start thinking in terms of that. But when you really nail down your due diligence process, you really change that focus, especially if your mission is to keep the homeowner in their home. You really start vetting the homeowner as well and their ability to pay. Oh, okay. So that is like where things change and you become more like a private investigator. And we have a whole technology-based due diligence process whereby we evaluate the property, we pull title, we understand lien validity, lien positioning, other encumbrances that could really knock you out. We get all that. However, we look very closely into credit pull, skip tracing, and we really try to capture the borrower and their ability to pay us. And the result of that is we buy better paper. Our business is more profitable as a result, and our employees that are commission-based are much happier.
Makes sense. So do you, I mean, it kind of sounds like you guys have two arms of due diligence. You do the due diligence that a normal investor would do, look at the property, look at the location, all that stuff, but you also look into the actual tenant, I suppose is how the note holder.
The borrower. In that case, it's the borrower. Yes.
So do you actually speak with the borrower? Or do you do an interview? Do you, ask them what their job is, all that kind of things?
So legally, you're not allowed to make any contact with the borrower unless they have a legal obligation to you, which they don't before you buy the note. So you have to rely on a number of different resources like credit report, O&E report, various other types of background checks, and you triangulate data and you make a determination based on that.
Gotcha. So, take the perspective of somebody like myself who has never purchased a note, I have no experience in the space. How does somebody get into note investing? What is like the first few steps they would take to go down that path? Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Well, you could read the most popular book on note investing called Note Investing Made Easier. So I wrote that book in 2017, and it was a coming out of the closet moment for me. So before, I was just like operating in a cave, and I was doing my own thing, building my own portfolio, and then I just had a spiritual calling to write the book. I just shared what I do in my day-to-day practices, and it's been an Amazon bestseller with mortgage note investing since then. And I have people reach out to me daily, and it's been a huge blessing in my life because it reinforced that whole idea of service to others. And that's, really what I'm about right now. That's why I do the podcast. I could still be in my cave and I'd be doing very well financially. But it's very satisfying being able to kind of connect with other people, help them. If I know just a little bit more than they know, just kind of, move someone forward. It's very satisfying to me in life.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hey, we have rounded the corner on the 20-minute mark, so I got to push us into the quick question round. You ready?
Yes.
All right. We always start out with books. I'm a big bookie, so give us 2 book recommendations. It's awesome that you wrote a book, so you can give your own. One for real estate investing, and then one for general life wisdom.
Yeah, I have to go to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book when I was making the transition into business ownership, and it just changed my life. And so I'm a huge Kiyosaki fan. I give him a lot of credit for being instrumental, helping so many people in the space just kind of wake up. And so I'll go with that for real estate. In general, there's a good book, with I'd say what comes to mind, Capital Attraction by Matthew Burke. It's helped me with setting up bequest funds, and but it also helps with just setting up the systems, and I've read that a number of times, and so I like that. Michael Gerber, E-Myth as well is a bit inspirational to me as well.
Good books, yeah. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I don't know how many times that has been a recommendation for good reason. It is if you don't have experience in real estate, I feel like it's the best book to start with because it gives you a good motivation for why it works and then a good just overview. It's not going to give you specific strategies or anything, but it's definitely a good book to pick up if you guys are new to this.
Cash flow quadrant. So read Rich Dad and then immediately cash flow quadrant after that.
Yep. Both by Robert Kiyosaki. Great books. Moving on, and this one is for your younger self. So if you could go back to the Martin who had just graduated with his MBA, nice and shiny, just going into the corporate world, go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Do for yourself. So many people just live in this world and they're feeding other systems, like feeding the school system, making them wealthy, feeding the corporate employers, making them wealthy, and they're doing very little to better themselves. And so, do for yourself. And advice for investing that I live by is only invest in assets that cash flow and that you have control over.
I love it. All right. Next question. This is habits. Habits are the foundation of our life. So if you could point to one habit that you feel contributes the most to your health, your wealth, and your success in life, what would that be?
Commitment. So I'm committed. I'm committed every day. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I'm at the gym. I have 4 young children. I'm committed to my wife and family. I am committed to my companies. I am committed to the people I serve. Like, it's just a full-time commitment. I don't have time for TV. I don't have time. When you're fully committed to things that are bringing value to your world and people around you, then you just cut out all the nonsense. So I'm constantly pruning the bushes, as Jim Rome talks about, and just keeping focused on my commitments.
Yep, I love it. All right, that brings us to the last question. You've given us a lot of good wisdom for anybody interested in note investing, or just hearing your story from going from a museum exhibit small business owner to real estate investing to note investing. So I'm sure people want to reach out, say hi to you. What is the best way for them to do that?
Sure. They can email me at martin@bqfunds.com, or they can visit noteinvestingmadeeasier.com.
Perfect. And I will put that link in the show notes. So if you guys are listening, watching, and you want to grab that link, go to click on the little more in the description. It'll pop down the full description. In there, you'll be able to find Martin's note and click through, say hi. So Martin, thank you again for hopping on the show today.
Thanks, Gabe. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason that we do this, so we appreciate having you here. As always, if you have any questions, any recommendations at all, go ahead and reach out at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Other than that, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and were able to pull some actionable advice that you can go home with and apply to your own investing business. Before you go, I have a gift for you. If you're a new investor looking to get started, or an established investor looking to take your business to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you, available on the website. This ebook will cover how I was able to create both active and passive income in real estate with very little money to start with. In it, I will address the 3 most often cited obstacles new and veteran investors run into by showing you how to find a deal that's actually a deal, how to finance that deal with little to no money down, and how to exit a deal for maximum value. And if you get the ebook today, I'm going to bury you in bonuses, 7 of them to be exact. First, you'll get the off-market lead generation blueprint, which will take you through the exact systems and processes we use to generate off-market leads like clockwork, which is the most important skill when it comes to creating real wealth in real estate. Then you'll get the A to Z REI systems and vendors guide, which will allow you to peek under the hood of our business and see the exact tools and systems and even the vendors we use to grow our business. After that, you will get the top 100 best performing keywords pack, which will give you the exact keywords we use to target leads online and generate leads without having to lift a finger. Next, you'll get the contracts bundle for wholesaling and renting real estate, which will give you access to all of the contracts we use in the field to execute all types of transactions. After that, you'll get the Investor's Quick Analysis Calculator and Offer Tool, which will allow you to quickly calculate whether a deal is an actual deal and will allow you to create an offer automagically from those calculations. Next up, we'll give you the Investor's Daily Success Tracker, which is a tracker you can use to ensure you are taking the right actions day in and day out to reach your financial goals in real estate. And finally, you will get the Wholesaler's Template for Quick Assignment Cash, which will give you the templates we use to present our wholesale deals professionally and efficiently to our buyers. I know that is a ton of things to say. I'm glad you were able to stick with it. So you'll get both the ebook and all of those 7 free bonuses when you download the ebook today. All we charge is the admin cost to run the show. So if you are interested in the ebook and the bonus bundle, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Click on Get the Ebook Bundle at the top of the page and take advantage of that deal. With that housekeeping item covered, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day and even better week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at gabe@therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.